Look, it's around mid-March, it's a Saturday, and I'm missing football. March is in full swing with college basketball right now. We got an amazing slate of conference tournaments going on right now, and the March Madness starting up. Selection Sunday is tomorrow. We're in full swing with college basketball, but I miss football. It's Saturday without football. NFL hasn't been on for about a month now. College football hasn't been on for about 2 months, except for FCS spring ball, and I've found myself watching and enjoying some of those games. I just miss football. I miss FBS football, and that's what we're going to talk about today. Guys, do yourself a favor if you haven't already. If you're missing football as much as I am, hit that like button and that subscribe button down below if you are not already subscribed, because we have covered college football content all season around, and that we're going to continue to do that all summer, all spring, whatever you want to call it. Even though there's no football going on, still tons of football content to be made, because there's always stuff going on in the college football world, and there's tons to talk about, and that's what we're going to talk about today. I did the same video like this around this time last season, where I came out with my early playoff prediction. I think I had Ohio State 1, I had Clemson 2, I had Alabama 3, and I think I had Oklahoma 4. I think those were my 4 teams. I can't remember. I'm pretty sure it was something around that. I'm pretty sure it was those 4 teams I had going to the playoffs last year. Kind of close on that. I had Ohio State, I had Bama, I had Clemson. I just did not have Notre Dame in there, and I think my first 2 out were Florida and Oregon. So I was decently close on how that all played out. But this season, who do I got as my first 2 out this season? Who do I got going to the playoffs this season? It's going to be an amazing video, so sit back, relax, and enjoy this one, because we are in for a very, very good one today. First 2 out. Let's start with my first 2 out. Who are my first 2 teams out? One of these teams I think will be a shocker to some people, and the other of these teams will be a shocker in the sense that, why is this team not in the playoffs? I'm going number 6 Iowa State, and I'm going number 5 Ohio State for my first 2 out. Starting off with Iowa State. Iowa State, I remember watching this team's first game last season against Louisiana Lafayette. It was just like one of the early September games. My South Carolina Gamecocks weren't playing yet because we started in late September. The Big 12 and the ACC had started, so college football is back. I was watching college football no matter what. This team lost to Louisiana Lafayette in a terrible first game. Like, Louisiana Lafayette's special teams was insane that game. I think they returned like 2 kicks or something like that, but Iowa State just did not look like a good team at all. After that game, they caught fire. They beat Oklahoma early on in the season, and then they go out and they play really, really well until the Big 12 championship comes up. They make the Big 12 championship, which is huge, but then they lose a game to Oklahoma, which obviously sends Oklahoma into a New Year's Six Bowl against Florida. Now, Iowa State still makes a New Year's Six Bowl, and they play Oregon in the Fiesta Bowl, and I'm pretty sure Iowa State was able to come away with the win there in the Fiesta Bowl. So Iowa State was a good team last year, and I think the main reason on why I think they're going to be a good team this year is because the talent that they return. First of all, starting quarterback Brock Purdy has decided to come back another year for the Cyclones. I think that is a huge deal because he is one of the better quarterbacks. He had his games, he had his moments in Iowa State last year, but when he is on, he is on. He's a really, really good quarterback. Breece Hall, probably the best running back in all of college football. Even though I'm a big Gamecocks fan, I think the world of Kevin Harris right now. Breece Hall had the stats last season. Breece Hall is probably the best running back in all of college football right now. He is insane. You're returning Hutchinson at wide receiver, and you're returning most of your offensive line. In the Big 12, you need to have fire-powered offenses, and I think that is what Iowa State has this season. This is a team that could be one upset win. They just need one win against a team, which I'm going to talk about later, and this could be a playoff team. This could be a team finding themselves in their first playoff ever. And this isn't a team that you think, when you think of the big boys in college football, you think Alabama, obviously, you think Ohio State, you think Clemson, you think like Georgia, you think like Florida, USC, Oregon, all those guys. Iowa State isn't necessarily a team that pops into your head when you think of the big boys in college football. And this is a team that can go up against those big boys this season and turn some heads and maybe find themselves in a college football playoff spot. Now, I have them just missing, but I still have a very, very impressive season for the Iowa State Cyclones this season. Going to Ohio State, got 2 state teams in my first 2 out. Ohio State, this was a really tough team because there was 5 teams that I was really debating on who was I going to take out? It was really 2 teams or 3 teams. I was like, which team am I going to take out? Which team do I not have going to the playoff? Ohio State, they were a great team last year, obviously making the national championship. They lose Justin Fields. Now, yes, you lose Justin Fields. You're going to have Stroud, you're going to have Miller, and you're going to have, who's the McCord? He was the guy that you just signed, 5-star. You're going to have all of those guys going into the quarterback battle for the position this year. Ohio State, in my opinion, easily has the best wide receiver corps in all of the country this season. Smith, Najibba, Fleming, Chris Olave obviously being the main guy, Garrett Wilson. Those are 4 guys right there that you just look at, and it's almost like Alabama's when you had Waddle, you had Smith, you had Judy, you had Ruggs. This wide receiver core is really, really, really good. The running back position also very good for Ohio State. I just don't know what it is about this team. I feel like in the Big Ten, there were some games for Ohio State this season. Yes, it was an inconsistent season with COVID and everything. You still had some games that should have felt a lot more. You should have seen a bigger gap in the score. You look at the Rutgers game. You look at the Indiana game. You look at maybe even the Penn State game for Ohio State this season. Considering how bad Penn State was this season, yes, Ohio State was the second best team in the country last year. You lose your star quarterback to the NFL draft. You lose Sean Wade on your defense. You lose White on the offensive line. This is going to be a team that I think is going to find themselves with a loss going into championship weekend. I don't know to who. I honestly don't know to who, but there's been a lot of inconsistency in the Big Ten, and I just feel like you could find a team that just goes out and upsets Ohio State one weekend, especially when you don't know what's going on at the quarterback position. You don't have that main guy, and I just feel like the 4 teams ahead of them have a quarterback cemented into their role, and they have a guy who they really, really trust. I don't know if Ohio State's going to have that guy and how that's all going to work out with the 3 guys you have going for the quarterback position. So that's why I have them coming in at number 5. Ohio State's still going to be a really, really good team this year. Not be shocked at all if Ohio State's able to get into the playoff. Again, this is just my opinion. Now we're getting into the top 4. Who do I have making the playoffs this season? Coming in at number 4, this is a team that I'm going to have with 1 loss on the season. This is going to be 1 postseason loss. They go undefeated in the regular season, lose their conference championship game, but still find a way to make it into the college football playoff. I'm pretty sure it's pretty easy who to guess this team is. The Georgia Bulldogs. I hate Georgia. Never liked Georgia. They're one of my least favorite teams, being a Gamecocks fan, but that doesn't mean that I do not see the talent on this team. I do not see the consistency on this team. And I think the running back position is really what stands out to me with Cook and with Zamir White. That's what I would be really excited for if I am a Georgia Bulldogs fan this season. You got George Pickens on the wide receiver core. And I think the main part about what you're excited for is the consistency you found with JT Daniels at the quarterback position. Obviously, at the beginning of the season, you had no clue what was going on at quarterback. When you have Dwayne Mathis, you have Jamie Newman opt out, you have Stetson Bennett, and then finally JT Daniels is able to come back from injury, and he's your guy. Takes you to a good end of the season. You finish it off with a big win against Cincinnati, who was, in my opinion, an underrated team. When people say Georgia barely beat Cincinnati and mean that as a bad thing, I think Cincinnati was a good team, and that's a good win for Georgia. This defense is still going to be really good. Yes, they lose some key guys on there. They lose LeCount. I think they lose Monty Rice. You're losing some big guys there, but I still think the core of this Georgia Bulldogs defense and what Georgia is usually good at on defense, because they found themselves as being one of the definitely more consistent teams on the defensive side of the ball last season. I think Georgia's going to find themselves undefeated going into the SEC championship game. The SEC East is they're taking a huge step back this year. Florida took a huge step back. I think Tennessee is taking a huge step back, getting a new coach. South Carolina is. Mizzou's a team that possibly could be a sleeper in that division. Kentucky and Vanderbilt. I think Georgia is the clear and obvious outlier in that division to be the top dog for the Bulldogs easily. So I have them going undefeated in the regular season. You play Auburn and you play, I can't remember who Georgia's other SEC West opponent is, but I think it wasn't an Alabama, it wasn't a Texas A&M, it wasn't a team that really, really scares me going on to the season. I think it's like Mississippi State or Arkansas. I think it's Arkansas. They're going to go undefeated into the SEC championship game and then lose that game to a team, which I'm going to talk about later, which you could probably already guess who it is, but if you can't, I'm going to save it for the surprise for you. Coming in at number 3, I'm going with the Clemson Tigers. This is a team, I hate them. Least favorite team in all sports, least favorite thing in the world probably. Can't stand Clemson, but again, doesn't mean that I should disrespect them and take them out of the playoffs. The ACC sucks. The ACC is a terrible, terrible conference. I'm a huge SEC guy, and I have no problem coming out here and saying the ACC is a terrible conference. This team's going to go undefeated. It's going to be really hard to lose the game, especially with Notre Dame probably going back independent this season. You're not going to have them in the conference. You're losing Trevor Lawrence. You're losing Travis Etienne. You're returning a bunch of guys on that receiving core. You get Justin Ross back, which is a huge part. Big help for DJ Uiagalelei coming in, as this is going to be his first real season of playing. He played 2 games, I think, for Clemson this season. You saw him in the, You saw him in the Boston College game, and you saw him in the Notre Dame game. He was decent. Nothing too special. Nothing Trevor Lawrence-like, but he's still going to be a really good quarterback. I just think that this team falls back to 3 for the main reason of strength of schedule. They're going to go undefeated probably. They just do not have the strength of schedule to go up and compete with teams like the other 2 teams that I have. Obviously, they played Georgia early on in the season. I honestly feel really, really good about Georgia taking that. But that's what I forgot to talk about. I didn't even talk about the Georgia-Clemson game when I talked about Georgia. So you know what? Take back what I said about Georgia is that game could be a 50-50 game. I don't know who they have winning that. So Georgia could be a one-loss team going into the conference championship. Clemson could be a one-loss team, but I have Clemson dropping back to that number 3 spot. They're still going to be conference champions in my opinion, but I don't know what's going to happen with them against Georgia. It's going to be very, very interesting. Number 2, I got the Oklahoma Sooners. Oklahoma is a very good team this season. This is Oklahoma's year to win a national championship. This is Lincoln Riley's chance to make a splash in Oklahoma. This is your year to win. You had the best quarterback in all of college football right now, and you have him for 1 year. In my opinion, Spencer Rattler is going to go on to the draft next season. You have a defense that is starting to find an identity in a conference where there's no defense at all. Oklahoma is really starting to build a defense, and that's going to be absolutely key. You got Marvin Mims as one of the best young receivers in all of college football coming out of his freshman season. Lots of exciting things going on at Oklahoma for this next coming year. This is your year to win if you're Oklahoma. I see them going undefeated in their regular season slate. They're probably going to win the Big 12 championship against Iowa State. This is the team that I have Iowa State losing to. But I honestly, really do think that Oklahoma is going to find themselves in that 2 spot, because this is a team with tons of talent, and this is a team that is ready to win now. They just got one thing in their way when they finally get to the playoffs, and that is my number 1 team, the Alabama Crimson Tide. The turnover for Alabama, not good, especially on the offensive side of the ball, not good at all. Mac Jones, Devontae Smith, Najee Harris, Jalen Waddle, Alex Leatherwood. You got, who's the other offensive lineman? Oh my gosh, his name, the center, Landon Dickerson, that's who it is. The turnover on offense is not good. You're losing some guys on defense, obviously Patrick Surtain, Dylan Moses. You still got tons of good talent on this team. You're bringing in Bryce Young at quarterback, who is the top quarterback in his class. You got John Mechie still at the wide receiver position. Brian Robinson's going to have a huge season at the running back position. Again, Alabama constantly brings in new guys who just become the next guys of who came before them. Not be surprised at all when this team probably goes on and wins another national championship. They're going to go undefeated in regular season. I don't see anyone getting in their way this season except maybe Texas A&M. Texas A&M is my only real threat. Maybe Florida, but Texas A&M is my big threat for Alabama this season. Other than that, Alabama can pretty much walk through the schedule to the conference championship game, which they're probably going to take on the Georgia Bulldogs. I have Alabama winning that game, and then they're going to find themselves at the number 1 spot in the college football playoff. So those are my predictions, guys. Iowa State 6. You got Ohio State 5. You got Georgia 4. Clemson 3. Oklahoma 2. And then Alabama number 1. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. I really appreciate it. College football, it'll come. We just all got to stay patient. Enjoy all the sports that are going on now. But college football will come, and it will be an amazing season. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. Like the video, subscribe, comment anything about college football. And thank you for watching. And definitely come back next time.